Busch Gardens Williamsburg just announced their 10th roller coaster, which alone is a mind-blowing fact. It's crazy to me that this park is about to have 10 roller coasters. This one being very different from everything else. It is completely indoors, and it's going to be on the tamer side. This is DarKoaster. It's located in the former Curse of DarKastle building. This was a state-of-the-art dark ride. It closed in, I believe, 2017. They've been using it for event space and Hallow Scream, but obviously everyone just wanted to see something new there, and so they're putting a roller coaster inside. It's an Intamin family multi-launch coaster, about 2,400 feet of track, top speed 36 miles per hour, total of 4 launches, but really it's 2 launches. I'll get to that in a second. 10 riders per train, 2 trains, and both of those trains look like snowmobiles. If you've ridden Wavebreaker, the rescue coaster at SeaWorld San Antonio, then you're already familiar with this seating setup. It's what Busch Gardens is calling a straddle coaster. They're saying this is the world's first indoor straddle coaster, which actually is a false record. There's 3 of those already in existence, but this would be the first on this half of the world. So the odds that you've ridden one of the other 3 is very minimal. At SeaWorld, the vehicles are themed to jet skis, so they're adapting them to make them look like snowmobiles. The animation that you're seeing here doesn't do a great job of really making them look like snowmobiles, so I'm hoping that in actuality, it looks way more reminiscent of a snowmobile instead of a jet ski. And the whole idea here is that you're escaping this storm. It's a continuation of the original Curse of DarKastle theme. If you ever got a chance to ride that ride, it all takes place in the winter time, so the whole castle is snow ridden. They even kind of show you that in the beginning of this animation. Although it looks way more wintry there, I'd love to see them kind of adapt the castle to actually feature some of those like icicles and snow-like elements. I don't think they will, but it'd be a great way to kind of update that outside look. I'll kind of get into the theming a little bit later on, but first I do want to address the layout. If you're unfamiliar with how this ride is going to work, you're going to dispatch out of the station, take your first launch, go through some of the ride, hit your second launch, go through a couple more turns, but then instead of going back into the station, you're going to go to the left, and that's when you hit your first launch again, making that launch number 3, and you go through that whole layout again, hit those brakes again, but this time you go back in the station. So you're going around this layout twice. That's because even though this is a big building that's housing this ride, as soon as you put a roller coaster in it, you're limited on space. There's about a 30-foot ceiling here, so they can't even make the track that high. So this is going to be a relatively tame experience, but it's something that Busch Gardens definitely needed. It's going to be even tamer than a ride like Invader, but it does have a 48-inch height requirement, which I thought was a little interesting. Considering the speed, height, and turns that this thing has taken, it definitely could be a 42-inch height requirement. I'm thinking that it must be because of the seating setup that they're using, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, I am glad that they're going with this sort of seating arrangement because it diversifies it from the rest of the rides here. I actually did not expect them to go with that at all, but I'm really glad that they did. But I guess the downside of that is, yeah, it does mean you have a bit higher of a minimum height requirement. I also did not expect them to go with a snow theme. If they were going to utilize this kind of straddle setup that they're talking about, I would have expected them first to go with like motorbikes, like you're going through the woods. But I like this idea that they're going to be braving through the storm. It is going to be interesting to see how thematically it looks. As I already mentioned, because of the amount of track that they're packing into this building, the clearances that they have to account for, there's not a ton of space that they have to work with. So I think they're going to get very crafty with their lights, projections. They said there will be some physical sets and they'll be able to project onto those. So it's not going to be a pitch black ride experience. Now, in my opinion, what would make this ride way cooler is if the projections varied per lap that you're doing around there. So the first time around, you're getting certain settings, and then after you go around the second time, the lights and the effects change. You're seeing different things, you're hearing different things. They definitely have the ability to do that. And I think it would make the ride more interesting as opposed to you're just going around the same layout again and you're seeing the same exact stuff again. But I will say, don't get your hopes up too high based off of the animation that you're seeing here. This is an animator's interpretation. It's very possible we could be seeing some of the stuff that is featured in this animation, but I'm not going to count on it. I would not be surprised in the slightest if it's completely different. But either way, I'm really thrilled that they're actually putting in some theming here, considering that was the biggest disappointment with the previous coaster, Pantheon. That ride did not look good at all, so I think they're going to make it up for us here. And of course, it's just exciting to see them adding 2 roller coasters in back-to-back years and potentially a third one right after this. But I think to them, it doesn't feel like 2 coasters in back-to-back years because Pantheon was delayed so long. I mean, that thing was originally going to open in 2020, so they were building it in 2019, and now here we are in 2022 and they just finished building this thing. So that's why I think this edition does make sense, and man, they did need to do something about that building there. It was just sad walking past it every single time, knowing that there used to be a really cool ride there, but it's gone and just sitting empty, so I'm really, really glad that they're finally doing something about this. And I can't wait to experience it. If you can't have a really cool dark ride there, I think a roller coaster is absolutely the way to go. I'm not expecting it to be super thrilling. It's gonna be a ride for everyone, but I think thematically, what they'll do here to further the story that was laid first by Curse of DarKastle, continued on in the queue and during the ride experience, I think will really make this enjoyable for everyone. So it doesn't feel like we're just gonna go ride a boring old family coaster. It'll be like, nah, this thing is awesome. Let's go ride DarKoaster. Which, I love the name. I'm so thrilled they went with it. I didn't think they would, but I'm glad they did. So let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of DarKoaster coming to Busch Gardens, Williamsburg? Do you agree with the points I've made? Do you think I missed anything? Let me know down below. The ride's expected to open in spring of next year, and you know that we'll be there to get our first rides in on it. It's gonna be a great addition to the park. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.